Here we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your favorite paranormal investigator here. My name is Tim Sudano. This is Paranormal Insight, and today we talk about the finer points of alien abduction. And here with me to talk about all that is the man himself, my Uber boss and leader of iCars. I think he was on he was in the Navy intelligence system. You know what I mean. And he's and is the reigning authority in most things regarding alien abduction. Joe, welcome to the show. This is Joe Montaldo, in case I missed it.
In case you missed it. Well, thanks for the invite. You know, I always enjoy coming on and talking about aliens. It's one of my favorite things to do. Somebody just asked me, matter of fact, somebody asked me just that, like, what's your favorite thing to do? Do it, and somebody's like, is it like boating or this, that, and the other thing? I said, no, it's talking about aliens. A good friend of mine's like, you got that big boat out in the yard, 24-foot, 3 engines on. I said, I'd rather be talking about aliens. He's like, I can't believe that. I'm like,
it's the truth. It's the truth.
Well, to be honest with you, it's just. I mean, I've been doing it for, oh God, probably as long as you've been alive. It was funny. I was talking to I was on with a lady a week ago, and she said something to me. I said, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. She said, I doubt. I said, well, how old are you? She said, 39. I said, I've been doing it for 43 years. She's like, holy shit, you have been doing it longer than I've been alive. I said, hey, it happens sometimes.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, hey, big shout out. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, great.
I cut you off. I was going to say a big shout out to those joining us in the chat. We got Heidi in the chat right now. Hey, Heidi, how's it going? Welcome to the show. Joe, one of the big things I want to talk about is the finer points of alien abduction. But first, I have a little story to tell you. I've been dying to talk to you about this for a while. So let me share a screen here real quick. And I'll tell you this little, I have a slideshow that comes with it. So, yep, add to the stage. There we go. So, my dream goes like this. I'm with my scary team. We're in a desert location somewhere, some little town in the middle of the desert. And I don't know if it's California desert or Arizona or New Mexico or Texas, but it's small. And in this dream, we're there to investigate this. Not even a UFO flap. It's just constant. There are always UFOs in this vicinity around this town. And this town has a very unique kind of, I don't know, I guess, design. Or I should say, they have a baseball diamond. It's abandoned. They don't use it much anymore, but it's like a little league somewhere. And this is all AI art, so we just take that with a grain of salt. And at the back end, kind of like Rogers Field in Canada, there's a hotel at the backstop attached to the baseball diamond. And they say the UFOs tend to swarm around this thing, and they have all this photographic evidence, interviews and stuff, and like over the years, but nobody has really said anything about it. It's kind of like the best kept secret in the world, but we got invited out for some reason, again, on the dream. And one particular set of people, again, these are AI people. AI made this up. Look the way she's holding her cigarette. And I don't know what the heck that is on her badge on the little girl there. But anyway, these two, a mother and daughter team, refuse to be on camera, but they'll tell the story on audio. So, I'm geared up. I got what I call my one-man band, which is a tack vest I've modified to hold cameras and stuff. But anyway, they don't want to be on camera, but they'll be on audio, and they tell me this story. It says, listen, I can tell you about the lights we've seen. We've seen abductions. I think my daughter's been abducted, the mother says, and the daughter says, well, I think my mom's been abducted because I've seen her. I remember her in the ship. But that's kind of irrelevant. She says, if you want to see something, we know something's going to happen tonight. We get a sensation whenever an abduction's about to happen. So stay in that hotel, and we'll see what happens. So I go to my. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Oh, I gave it away. Okay, so I stay in my hotel. It's late at night, and then I get a phone call, and it's fuzzy. It's like the transmission's garbled, and they're here, and as soon as I look out, boom, UFOs are outside of this hotel, buzzing the top floor. And let me introduce you to these UFO players. This is the bigger papa. This is or mama, if you prefer. Again, AI art, but it took me forever to get this just so. But this is relatively what it looked like in my dream. It had this gear kind of thing going on the outside, and it had cameras, like there were drones, like cameras, and a spotlight on one side. And this big one's buzzing around. I make it about 30 foot around, maybe 40, as its circumference goes. And buzzing around on the other side is this little guy. And he's decidedly smaller, maybe 10, maybe 10 foot around, but he's definitely smaller. He kind of looks like this, not exactly like this, but not far off. And he also has a similar ocular thing on top of his thing, and he's swiveling around like it's almost like an R2D2 kind of a thing. And I have these really those curtains that are semi-transparent. They're meant to like block out the light but be translucent, like provide. I can't talk, but those translucent curtains. One's pulled over. This little guy here, sitting outside my window, just like that, pans his little flashlight or spotlight and scans across the curtains. The curtains open as he does so. I can feel this pressure, this electromagnetic pressure. If you've experienced anything like that, you've been too close to a power box or something like that, or a power junction, you'll know you'll get that weird pushback in the magnetic field a little bit. I'm super sensitive to that stuff anyway. It kind of helps when you're doing ghost hunting. But anyway, so he opens the curtains. I feel the wave of this beam or whatever it is he's using, and I start to levitate. And I'm being picked up, and it's not any one part of me is picked up. It's like I'm being lifted up, and as a whole. And I just, and in the dream I go hi again, like that. The next moment in the dream, and the part that actually kind of woke me up, is I get this chill that travels. I'll never forget the sensation, but it's like being doused in warm water when you've been cold and you get that chill. But it went from the top of my head all the way to the bottom of my feet, linearly, except I'm lying down. I'm prone, and that's when I wake up. And that is my dream. Have you heard anything like that before? And have you seen craft that resemble these guys before? I guess that's my big question for you. And then we'll get into the larger issue.
Let me turn the mic on so you can actually hear me.
Sure.
I've actually had a lot of dreams along those lines. I wouldn't say exactly, but along those lines. So what's funny about that is part of the dream sounds like somehow or another you got AI stuck in your head. Part of the dream could be alien, but the problem is a lot of the descriptions you give of the craft sound like AI. Because we've got a lot of these that sound like AI that are not actually. To put it in perspective, the Greys, reptilians, and humans don't need a light to scan you. Okay. Their scanners just work. They just work. Doesn't matter if it's dark, daylight, or anything. They just scan out. They're invisible scans, and they just scan out and they touch you, and you can feel them when they touch you. And it does push back.
Yeah.
Not always. I mean, if you're not sensitive to it, you might not feel it, but most people who are sensitive to it are going to feel it, and they instantly know what's coming next.
Okay.
The next thing is your ass is being hauled aboard the ship for whatever reasons they're being taken. In this case, someone may have known you were there. So military abductions are funny things. So the government always wants you to think that you're being taken by aliens again. So let's say you were taken 10 hours earlier without realizing it, and you were put back. Well, Uncle Sam knows you were taken, probably because they've been watching. So they pull you back in later on, but they can't just go as the government, because you're going to know they're the government. You know, because then when you're talking to them, you say, oh, these guys in Jeeps or in these Humvees or whatever pulled up, or these helicopters came on, or these weird drones came in. So what they do is, and we've caught them doing this more than one time, they use drones that look like spacecraft. So they use like it's not even a magnetic. It's not even a magnetic field. It's kind of like the ones in Jersey, but just a different style. They use a telepath to put you out.
Oh,
so you'll feel this thing pushing in your head, and your natural reflex is to push back.
Yeah.
The problem is you push back, you're out. Once you start pushing back, you're actually out at that point. You just don't realize it because they're just letting whatever play through your head, because that's going to be what they're going to use. So more than likely you were taken in this dream, probably military abduction. They just let the dream play through. Matter of fact, they were probably part of the dream. They're probably what started it. And then they let it play through. But what that means is, Tim, somewhere earlier, ET got your ass. They don't take you if ET hasn't gotten you. They're not interested in everyday citizens, because they don't really, there's no real information they can glean from an everyday citizen.
Gotcha.
But somebody who's been taken, especially somebody who's been taken that has a pretty good memory that they lock, you know, even it's hard to explain this to people, but even though you don't remember, you actually really do. It's still in your head.
Yeah.
It's still a memory in your head. You may not be able to pull it up at the moment, but they can, because what they do is they use a cross between sodium pentothal, sodium amythol, and what they call a passive telepathic scan. So they can pretty much do whatever they want in their head. Once they give you those two drugs and bring the telepath in, whatever they feel like putting in there, they can now put in there. So sometimes, though, it leaves a residual feel. Like in your dream, you notice right off the bat that these could as well be a drone as be a spacecraft.
Right.
30 foot around, we got drones bigger than that.
We do.
Yeah, we have actually drones way bigger than that.
Yeah, I've seen them.
we got some. They got that new. That it's not a Reaper drone; it's a newer drone. That thing is huge. I don't know what the hell they're using it for, but it's huge. And then of course we got sea drones and air drones and underwater drones. There's a drone for everything these days.
Yeah.
So what they do is they use these because they want you to think you had you had either an alien encounter or an alien dream. That way they can go through your head, do whatever the hell they want to, put the dream back intact, and leave. And that's all you're ever going to remember is that. You'd have to have somebody advanced in hypnosis like myself, or somebody who there's a hard to explain, but when we do hypnosis, you know, I'll get you under to like level 3, which is not, you're still conscious about everything around you. Okay. So I'll get you and I'll start talking to you. And I said, I'm going to put this spinning wheel up in front of your face, and you're going to see different parts of your life and different things that have happened to you in your life. It doesn't spin real fast, just fast enough that you can recognize a picture as it goes around. At that point, I will ask you to touch one of those pictures, which will bring up the memory, but I won't allow you to see the memory yet until I bring you down to level 5, because I don't want you to experience whatever it is. In other words, if there was horror or something in it, I don't want you to experience that mentally. You can see it, but I don't want you to feel it.
Gotcha.
If you start feeling
like
it's going to do
third party kind of.
Yeah. So, because if you start feeling it, more than likely it's going to bring you out of hypnosis, or it's going to make you panic, or both. So I don't want you to feel that. I want you to just to know, okay. And while you're looking at this thing, you know, you're thinking to yourself, well, this didn't happen. Why is this in my head? Well, no, it happened because it's in your head. You physically saw this, so it's in your head. So then you can walk through it with me. We'll go step by step, you know, when it started, how it progressed, where it went all the way to the end. And then I'll stop and ask you to go backwards and repeat it. And then we'll stop again. And depending on how long you've been under, we may go to a second phase where I bring you a little bit deeper and we go to another experience. And we do that. But a couple of times, like a good couple of friends of mine who really wanted to know, Frenchie came in, we did 10-hour sessions for 10 days. every day.
Oh
We had some of the weirdest shit happen. It melted one of my well, that's what happened to my Sony X. It melted it. Literally, all the inside of the camera was melted. And we were inside an office building, 20-something floors up in the sky. Inside the center of the building, and it melted it. And
wow.
So, we still had the original tapes, but we didn't have the camera. And finding one of those cameras now is kind of hard to do. So we whipped out another camera, which is a Panasonic with a built-in hard drive with a 78 times. So I set it all up. Now, I do this with all of them. I give you, if you don't have one, I give you a remote control, a remote that can talk. That you can talk to, that's your recording. It's for you. I'm not going to take it away from you. When the session's over, you get to take that home with you to hear everything you said.
Okay.
And that's just so you know there wasn't no funky monkey business going on while you were under. I actually ask everyone to bring a friend with them they trust implicitly, because I'm going to have somebody with me. Because videotape is great, but you can always turn videotape on and off. So I'll have somebody with me. They'll have somebody with me. They're not allowed to say anything. They go sit in a corner somewhere and just watch what's going on. And every now and then I have to stop because sometimes their friend will freak out, because they're like, what the, they had no idea any of this was going on in the person. So I got to settle them down before I can proceed. But it's safer that way for everybody involved. And so, and like I said, you get to take the audio recorder home with you, the whole entire thing, because you're holding it. So no one's turning it off. You can even hear the dead space when we're not talking, while we're moving equipment around or something like that. Gotcha. So when we get down there, we get to the next level. So this, and usually what we do is it's an expansion of what we were just talking about. So I'll ask you questions, saying, look, tell me about this, tell me about this, just different things. Nothing with the words alien or spaceship or any of that in there. That comes at a different time. So I'll go through there and then I'll stop it. Like I said, it depends on the amount of time we've done. I'll stop it. We'll get all these things together. I'll review it. And then I'll call you up and say, I want you to come by, and we will sit down and we review the entire tape. However long it is, we'll review the entire tape. Now, I've already gone through to see where there's different things, so you don't have to see all the just boring stuff where you're just telling me that, you're this old or you came from here, So, and then I allow you to see them because you're going to be the one that's going to help me formulate the way we question you. I don't like using words like extraterrestrials or grays or things like that, because I can implant memories in your head when I do this, especially if you're at level 5 or below or higher. I can actually imprint those into your head. So I don't want to do that. Yeah. So we'll sit down and go. And then while you're awake and conscious, some of those memories come back. So you can tell me, oh, I remember it was this, this, or this, or this, or this. Mm-hmm. And if not, I say, oh, that's fine. I said, so we're gonna condense this, and I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna ask you these questions. I'm gonna say, well, May 4th of 1999, you were telling me about someone or something you had seen walking around in your house. Can you give me a description? And I allow you, not me, but you, to tell me what you saw. He was 4 foot tall. He had big bulging eyes. His skin was this color. He didn't talk. It was telepathic. Whatever it may be, you're giving me the response. I'm not giving you the response. And that makes it, number one, it makes it much cleaner. It makes it much more professional. And people can't argue and say, oh, he's putting things in his mind. It's all made up. Well, no. It may be made up in your head, but we didn't make it up. You made it up. Right. And more than likely, it's not. When you're that deep in hypnosis, it's kind of hard to make things up. You really can only just play off of what your memory has. I mean, when you're lighter hypnosis, like 2 or 3, you can make stuff up because you're not completely under. You're under, but you're more. It's more like a really, really, really relaxed state. Like maybe you took a Xanax or something. It's kind of like it's kind of like that. You're kind of like, yeah, but this is feeling good. So, but you can make shit up at that point because you're not completely under. We get to stage 5, you're under. So at that point, I can start. And when we're talking about 7 or 8, that's a deep hypnosis. Anything can be implanted at that point. I could tell you were a damn chicken. You could fly. You could jump out the window, and as you hit the ground, you'll wake up and say, "Oh shit, I couldn't fly."
I am not Superman.
Yeah, so it's stuff like that. So we're really strict on it, but it works really well that way. And because we stopped and came back, formulated the line of question and went back to those same events and went through and allowed you to describe to me what it is that you saw, whether it's a person, whether it's a being, whether it's a craft, whether it's a dog, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
You're the one that's going to tell me. And like just a case just recently, I'm talking to a lady. She's describing this guy pretty much to the T. And then she stops and she said, and my damn dog walked up and peed on his foot. And that's just out of the blue, just random, but that's the event that happened. It took everything I had not to laugh my ass off. I'm not kidding you. It took everything I had not to just burst out laughing. And she started laughing and brought her out of hypnosis. She laughed so hard that it brought her out. And she said, I'm thinking, I can't believe my dog walked up and peed on a grave. I was like, and she said, when it happened, I was thinking in my subconscious, is he going to melt my dog or something? It was funny. It was serious, but it was funny.
Yeah.
And but it allows you to get that sense, that deep sense, so that when you come out of this one and all the questioning's done and we have the real answers, then you can sit down and go, shit, this is what's been going on in my life. Now, sometimes those answers won't be what you think they are. So recently I'd done one for Michelle and we got to talking. I asked the lady to tell me what was the event that traumatized her the most in life. And she breaks into, I said, she went back 20 years and she started talking about her husband. It had nothing to do with aliens at all. And I was kind of surprised that whatever her husband did traumatized her life more than the extraterrestrials did. So then I said, well, I need another event. I said, that's not what I'm looking for. She goes into another event, had nothing to do with aliens. So that told me right off the bat, more than likely, this woman was making this stuff up. So I didn't want to be the one to tell her this because I knew she was going to be really pissed because she was really thought she was a contactee. So I said, let's do a light wheel thing. We went back and I said, tell me what you see and tell me what you see. And she kept seeing these other events. Then I woke her up and said, sweetie, I said, don't take this the wrong. I said, you're not a contactee. I said, you're using alien abduction to hide other problems that you had in your life. And she at first she wanted to get mad, and then she realized, because she could remember everything that happened in the hypnosis, that what I tell her was true. And she said, I've been repressing these memories, haven't I? I said, yes, you have. She said, Joe, I feel relieved. I said, well, you might need a little bit more counseling than me because I'm not a counselor. I said, I think you're on your way to recovery. And about a year, was it 6 months later, because it wasn't even that long. I think it was like 8 months ago, or 10 months ago. Anyway, about 6 months ago, I get this beautiful letter telling me, thank you. She went and found a counselor. And she said, I'm living my life so much happier and so much healthier now. And she said, you know what? I realize I'm not an alien abductee. She said, I just want to thank you for all that hard work. And I'm thinking, yeah, there's a lot of wasted time on my part, but I'm not gonna get upset about it. I mean, it's just it's part of the game.
Yeah.
It's part of what goes on and goes down. And it's you're going to get cases that are not real. It's just one of those things. And I tell people all the time, don't get upset if you find out you're not an abductee. And some people do, because they really want that. Because it's like something special. So that's the person that they really, really want to be. And I mean, that's all fine and dandy if that's what you want. But I mean, you're just lying to yourself.
Right.
Oh, guys and girls, I just added Rumble while we've been talking, so y'all can catch us on Rumble, because I know you Rumble people get upset when you can't see my gorgeous face and stuff. But it's hey Heidi, I didn't see you in there. Heidi, I had you on there.
And Heidi has a story for us too.
Yeah. Oh, Heidi's a sweetie pie. I might have to give her a job. Yeah. Maybe I'll give her a show or something. She works hard for the network. I really like people like that.
She does. She works really hard.
By the way, she does. She works hard. I got my messenger open. I'm adding Pal Talk to our we're adding a room to Pal Talk so that we can bring questions. And my messenger is such a mess. When we left Pal Talk originally, everybody decided they were going to get on my messenger. So there's about 2,000, 3,000 people on my messengers now from Facebook that just ping me. Anytime they know I'm on a show, they just start pinging me. And I'm always telling them, why don't you go where state? No, they don't care. They would rather, and then they get these long conversations going, these threads that are 5 miles long. Yeah. And I'm like, guys, I'm not going back looking for the question that says, you make the thread that long, I'm not going to go look. Right. But we do get some good questions from them. It's strange. But in your case, going back to what we originally were talking about, it's a good chance that the dream is just awakening dream. It's a warning dream. We'd like to call them awakening dreams. Awakening dreams is something that lets you know something happened to you, something serious happened to you, and your ass needs to figure it out. If you
Okay.
don't, it's just going to keep recurring in different ways, in different dreams,
Okay.
and different things. And if it's a saucer of any type, it belongs to the Greys. That's what they fly. Except for the
Okay.
big monster motherships. They've got two ships. They've got a rectangular shaped one that is weird because sometimes it's round, sometimes it's squared off, but it's rectangular shape. And at different times when you see it, sometimes it'll have 4 bumps, sometimes it'll have 2 bumps, sometimes it'll have 2 bumps in the bottom, 2 on top. Well, those are all saucers that have landed on this ship. We didn't know. It took a long time to figure it out, but then we finally figured out what had happened. They had saucers. They land. The top can hold 5. The bottom can hold 5 of their regular saucers. So sometimes there's more than. Sometimes they're all parked. Sometimes half are parked. Sometimes they're divided, 2 up here, 3 down there.
Gotcha.
And it was driving everybody crazy until we figured it out. But it's not a mothership. It's more like a carrier.
Carrier. I was just gonna say.
Yeah, and then because the motherships are huge, but more huge. I mean, they're huge. The what's funny is the reptilians and humans motherships look like the Borg cubes. We got there.
I've seen something like that.
Yes.
Wasn't there something like that over the Pentagon at one point?
Well, the best part is NASA filmed 3 of them sitting in front of the sun, making what looked like a vortex.
Yeah.
NASA goes, oh, it was bad camera. So
it's a bad camera.
So another camera came by and took the same picture. Again, and they're like, oh, that's a different camera. And then the original camera came back and took the picture again, and they're like, well, we don't know what it is. Of course you don't.
Yeah. Now, one thing I couldn't get the AI to build correctly when I was making the saucer for me is little convexes on the top side. And in my dream, I forgot to mention this part, inside those little convexes were another set of cameras. Like security cameras, like you would have around your house.
Yeah, that's Uncle Sam watching what you're doing.
Okay.
It's I warn this to people all the time. If you're a contactee or an abductee and you're coming out publicly, sooner or later you're going to get harassed. It's just a matter of time. So, I tell people, I said, if you're going to come out as a contactee, don't go giving all the good stuff away. I said, because if Uncle Sam hears that you were piloting the ship, or you were doing this, or you were doing that, or you've been in the engineering room, or you've been here or there, you've been around the weapons, they're going to take you because they're going to see what kind of information you can get out of your head. That's their, and people get mad, but technically that is their job. You were abducted by aliens. Now the government's going to abduct you to find out why. And the reason the government abducts you is because they can't come out and say, hey, Tim was taken by aliens. We're going to bring him.
That's confirmation, right?
That's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Now, it was funny. The second time I went to go testify, they're like, have you talked about this? I said, yeah, I've got about 10 million listeners between 3 shows. I talk about it all the time. She's like, you're kidding me. I'm like, no, you drugged me into DC, paid me $8,000 to give testimony about my organization knows. I said, it's public information. I said, that's why we're not a 501(c)(3). And because if we see real quick, if you're a 501(c), the government can come in at any time and review your records. You can't say anything. They can see everything that you're doing without saying a word. That's one of the reasons I left MUFON and Phone by car, because we're privately funded. In order to look at our stuff, you're going to have to drag our asses into court.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to be the whole time kicking and screaming at every media source I can find. Look, the government's dragging us into court to find out about UFOs. So
can you tell everyone? I'm sorry. Can you tell everyone a little more about ICOR?
And anonymity is what it gives us.
Okay.
So it allows us to keep moving without the fear of Uncle Sam. So in this case, I get a phone call. This is 9-10 months ago. Would you like to give testimony to Congress? I said, not if it's public. And they're like, why? You do it on the radio? I said, because I know what you're going to be asking about. And I said, that stuff's not public information. It's part of the abduction criteria. And I said, secondly, I had planned on selling my construction company, which I've done since then, but I hadn't planned on it. And, a lot of my customers know I do this, but a lot of my customers don't.
Yeah.
And some of them customers are very, very, very religious. And I don't know how they would receive this. So I said, no, we're not going public. Now, this second time, I said, if you really want to go public, we can, because I had sold my construction company by then. They're like, no, we understand now why you didn't want to go public,
Oh.
and because some of the information is very scary. And I still remember this fucking admiral. Excuse my language.
Well, we're getting dinged for that one.
Admiral and the general. The first admiral comes up. He says, "I hate you." Bleep and bleep and bleep and bleep and bleep bleep and guts. I'm like, "Excuse me." I'm like, "What did I do to you?" He said, "Now I have to think." He said, "Let me explain this to you, Mr. Montaldo." I said, "Just call me Joe." He says, "Joe," he says, "I didn't think this shit was real. I never thought any of this was real. I always thought just a bunch of crazy, drugged up people running around our country." I said, "You coming here, because when they did it, both times I requested a polygrapher from Quantico."
Smart.
So second time, first time I got the number 2 guy. Second time I got the number 1 guy.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because they would ask him questions, and they're like, "He's not lying." And the one guy tells him, "You see how relaxed he is sitting in that chair? Does he look like he's lying?" So his face isn't strained, his body's not strained, the thing's not even moving. And the animal said, "Well, I still don't believe it." I said, "Well, I had a good time with your mama last night." And the thing goes, if I just wanted to get his attention. So anyway, he goes back to telling me, "I really don't like you anymore." He said, "I thought you was a nice guy and blah, blah, blah." He said, "But now you have made me change the way I have to look, not at just my country, but at the world and the universe."
Mm.
He said, "None of us thought this was real. None of us thought there was anything coming to our planet."
Really?
He's like, "Joe," he said, you have, he said, "None of this is in the Pentagon." And the guy standing next to him, who was a general, was a bunch of colonels. And he's like, the guy looks over him. He said, "I agree with you." He said, "I hate you, Joe." He said, "Because now all I can think about is our citizens are being taken by extraterrestrials, and we know bleep, 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 bleep about it."
Yeah.
And they got all hostile about it. When I was there the first time, there was a couple of senators, several House representatives, about 30 people from the Pentagon. No one below colonel, by the way.
Okay.
So made me nervous as soon as I see them. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
And so the first day went 12 hours.
Golly.
We didn't even break for lunch. They had lunch bird. And I said, "If you're catering lunch, I want a steak and a lobster." The guy said, I said, "No, I'm being serious." They come back.
Or I walk.
I'm still hooked up to the machine eating. And the guy walks up to me. He said, "How long you been married to your wife?" I said, 5 years. And the thing goes, he said, "You're lying." I said, "Yeah, I am." So I've been married to her for 41 years. He's like, and the thing just goes, shh.
Through the silk.
The guy's like, they asked me a couple times questions they knew I could lie on, and every time they went off. So he goes, "God, you are telling the truth." He said, "Is this the truth as you know it?" I said, "No, this is based on documentary, on real evidence." And then that's what the next 3 hours we spent going through evidence. And
Gotcha.
they were like, he said, can we have exposure to your doc?" I said, "Not a shot in hell." I said, "Every member of ICAR had to sign a non-disclosure agreement." I said, "So I'd have to sign it." I said, "My assistant would have to sign it." And I said, "The people who we're talking about would have to sign it."
Right.
And I said, "They're not going to sign it." I said, "But you don't need them." I said, "You're getting all the information right here. There's no reason to go harass citizens about this."
Right.
I said, "Now, if you just need somebody to confirm it happened to them," I said, "I can arrange that." I said, "But you can't go around harassing." I said, "Nobody would give us, we'd lose all credibility. It'd be, oh, well, you work for the government." They had enough people think I'm in charge of military abductions. I'm thinking, oh, come on. I said, cut me a break here. That all started because of Coast to Coast. I rewrote the Betty and Barney Hill case.
Oh, yeah.
Because of that, everybody now thinks that I'm the guy who tells who to go get it.
Manufactured all that? Yeah.
I'm not the guy who
He didn't do it. He didn't do it, guys.
I said, if I was, I'd be far more richer than I am today. I said, so.
Well, no kidding, dude.
I said, I would expect a big salary for doing that.
Okay.
Well, you're probably just hiding it. Somebody knows. I'm like, whatever. But see, in your case, though, you have to. So you're gonna have to get in and go through your dream and look for little subtleties. Like when you're talking about cameras, you're pretty much knowing you were seen by something to do with our government. And when I say Men in Black is a bad thing because first off, they don't work for the government. They're not any part of the government. They have no oversight at all. And somebody asked me, "Well, who are they?" I said, "Well, they're retired generals, retired colonels, retired admirals, retired bigwigs from Boeing, Lockheed, and some of the other places. They got together and formed this because they knew there was alien technology out there, and they're trying to get their hands on it. And they also know about a lot of things that goes on. I said, because that's all they do. I said, they're like us. That's all they do is track alien abductions. I said it's how they found out about Barney. I said sometime in his life, probably when he was a kid, he went to see a shrink. He got picked up and put in the system because he said alien abductions were taken. Aliens were taken.
Right.
Come on. I mean, the guy had a colonel living in his house. Colonel, I mean, people don't quite understand. Colonel is the next step to a general. They just don't fraternize with anybody. And he knew 3 of them, not 1 of them, but 3 of them. He was married to a white woman in 1963. I mean, and got invited to the White House. There's a lot of funky monkey business that went on there. And I don't think his wife was a contactee. I think he was. I don't think she
that
actually
makes sense.
was.
I mean, she was so calm about it.
Yeah,
in her recollection, he was screaming his head off in the recordings.
He was. So. He was. I got somewhere. I'm gonna play him. I was telling Michelle the night. I got him somewhere on his computer. Not this computer, but one of the other ones. One of the original hypnosis, all the original hypnosis tapes from Dr. Something. I also got somewhere. It's Carla Turner's last work she did on military abduction. So most people, when I mention her name, most people have no idea who she is. Without her, there would be no well, she is the military abduction lady. She's the one who found out they were going on. She was the one who came public with it. And 4 months after she came public with it, she died of stage 4 cancer. And get this, she had just had a physical 5 months earlier, and she was cancer free.
She was cancer free. Oh, son of a bitch.
They killed her. I mean, there ain't no doubt they killed her.
Yeah,
and that's why when Linda Leslie and I, when we both got into it, because we were pretty good friends when we got into it, we're very leery about talking about it. And then George Norrie called, actually Lisa Lyon called, that's who does this booking, and asked me if we'd come on and talk about it. And I was like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
And I called Melinda Leslie. She said, let's go. I'm like, all right. They're not going to kill us, Joe. We're too public. I'm like, okay. See, because Carla Turner really wasn't that public yet. She was out there, but and just still interviews you can find of hers. She really got into it hot and heavy. And then another one, which I can't mention her name anymore because she asked me not to anymore.
Okay.
She had woke up in the middle of her military abductions and found she was standing on a stage in front of a bunch of Air Force officials giving a lecture on what had happened to her.
Crazy.
And she even formed some website. She actually did quite a big stuff. And then she called me one day and asked me if I could pull all of it down off the web. I said, I can't get it all. I said, I'll get whatever I can. And she freaked out. And then Craig J. Cox, who was the first black contactee to ever really come out, he did the same thing. About 5 years in, he calls me one day and said, can you pull everything from the internet? I said, I will pull whatever I can. But he was having all kinds of weird. Every time he went in the grocery store, the scanners went off. Each time it was a different code. And then when you found the code book, it was like a message, because you could find the code book and read what the code meant. So it was like somebody was sending a message through his implant. It wasn't, and most implants are government, they're not alien. So it's just weird stuff. And he freaked out one day. He said, I can't even get a job, Joe. I was like, no, I'll pull it. Don't worry about it.
All right.
So
wow.
Because it's something like your case, as long as you're in a position in life that you can talk about this and it's not going to affect you, it's good to come public. It's also good for your health. But if you're not, it can ruin you. Cost a good friend of mine $100,000 a year job. She was a manager at a apartment complex, and they found that one of her hypnosises was online. And somebody had heard it. They fired her the next day.
Wow.
She got a lawyer come on. The judge said she sounds mentally unstable. She can't keep the job. And I remember I was sitting in court. I just wanted to stand up and say, what's up? If it's real, judge. And I just said, nope, leave it alone, Joe. You'll be in contempt of court and find yourself locked up somewhere.
Right.
So
let me take a second to welcome Jen, who joined the chat way back then. And Heidi had a huge experience she talked about. Thanks for sharing all that, Heidi. And then she asked about my thing, my guy here. Let me add him to the stage real quick. No, it wasn't bronzy like this. It was actually more gray. But every time I told it to do that, it changed the craft completely. So I just left it bronze. Yeah, my guy was like a silvery gray, like a gunmetal gray, maybe.
See, that sounds even more like the damn military.
Yeah.
They love that color. I don't know what it is in Battleship Gray or Gun Gray for the military. They love that color.
Yeah, they do.
But see, that. So in your case, the dream might have just been an awakening dream, just to let you know, hey, Tim, this happened to you, dumbass. Pay attention.
Okay.
And
Good to know.
if it keeps occurring, you'll know for sure that's what it is.
Okay.
Well, because a lot of us ignore our dreams, because like the other morning, I had a stupid dream about horses. Okay, I haven't been horseback riding in 30 years, which I used to love, but I haven't done it in a long time. I'm like, what the hell is this dream about? And then this morning, I woke up dreaming about Writers of the Future, which is I go every April to work with them. I'm like, what the hell, Joe? She needs to be smoking some weed or something, man. What's going on here? And but that's why it's hard. And then so much of our dreams we don't remember because it's it's all subconscious and it's all part of REM sleep. So it's hard to remember dreams out of REM sleep. Most people remember the dreams usually
like the last half hour.
Half an hour, yeah, before they wake up. That's usually when because they're kind of awake, but they're not awake. So it's enough for that subconscious to sneak through and let it see you. It's
Gotcha.
But that deep sleep stuff, yeah, it's rare that you remember any of that unless you wake up in a panic or something. But
it did wake me up. That was it was like 4:30 or no, sorry, 4 in the morning, like on the dot. Here.
And see, that's probably when they put your ass back.
Well, that's why it was like I was beamed in, but it was this. I was reconstructed from the head down to the foot, and when they beamed me in or whatever, but that's the sensation I got.
And it could have just been straight out aliens, and they might have just been messing around with the way you image things. Well, because and then I always tell this to people. Greys have been here a long time, reptilians, humans have been here longer. It's not to say that their ship types don't change.
Yeah.
I mean, there are an old advanced race, even though but the gray ships are different because they're organic. So they tend to look organic. They're grown ships. They're grown they start out about this big and turn into these monster ass ships. And not only that, the gray ship produces this blue plasma that the ship uses for fuel. The grays use as food. And they use it to regenerate humans that have had problems or doing a contact, something might have went wrong. They just immerse you in this stuff. You can breathe it. It's like tingling around your body. People talked about it. It took us a long time to figure out what it was because people kept talking about this electrical blue color. It's a color that's not on any of our charts. And I kept telling me it's blue, but it's not a blue I've ever seen before. And on and on and on. It was driving me crazy for like a decade. So one night I was sitting in bed and you said, you know what? I said, I'm going to call up 80 contactees and I'm going to give them a question about this blue plasma. About this blue color and see what comes back. So none of these people know each other. I sent them the question. Within 5 days, everybody had been picked up. Everybody came back with the exact same answer. Almost word for word.
Wow.
So, when we had started doing that earlier on. No one ever thought about that. Take your contactees, put stuff in their head. When they get abducted, everybody's telepathic. So when the gray gets into your head, or the reptilian or human, it automatically goes under your head to theirs. And a lot of times they answer subconsciously without thinking about it because they're so telepathic. That's how they communicate all the time.
Gotcha.
Sometimes there are sometimes repercussions for that. Sometimes the alien may get a little upset that you just jank some information out of their head. They may remove it. A lot of times they'll leave it. They usually will punish you in some manner. But I have also noticed sometimes aliens act like, oh look, my little baby's got telepathic abilities. All right, how cool. And so it's like a proud parent of their pet.
They're happy that their cat got the trick.
Because the Greys really don't think of us as they really think of us as pets.
Yeah.
I mean, they do think we're going to evolve into something good, but they do think of us as pets. The reptilians think of us as family, and the Greys think of us as like trash cousins, where they like one out of every 100 of us or something. But they all got their own views on what we are, and compared to them, we're just not even children yet. I mean, they're very, very, very advanced. Even though we have nuclear weapons and drones and go to the moon, they're like, whatever. This thing, I'm thinking
chemical fuel. Come on.
The reptilian kids think, oh God, I can do all of that, and I'm just a kid,
Right. That's stuff they learn when they're 5, and they play with it as
It's,
toys.
it's so, I mean, it's a tough thing. So, but we tell people when you start having dreams like that, document them, keep them close,
Yeah.
and see what it turns out to be. Because it's not 100% that a gray ship might have been that different. The camera thing bugs me because I know they use sensors, and they use and it's not even that. They can use the ship sensors, but the grays don't even need them.
Yeah.
They can just look and see everything's in that house. So they don't even really need a sensor or a camera. They can do it with their mind. The other ones kind of need sensors, and we're developing sensors that act like cameras that you can't see anymore. They're just part of a craft.
Oh, yeah.
Most of our sensors we have now can't see more than about a mile, but we're learning.
Quickly.
Of course, these races have already learned. So, but being that the cameras were involved and the outer structure of the craft does look like something. Where was it? Let me think for a second. Some desert in Arizona, they saw a craft almost like the one you drew. It was a little bit.
Great.
It was kind of big, but it had looked like a gear on the outside. Actually, it looked like a gear on the outside and a gear on the bottom of it. And we couldn't tell if it was a hologram because they do hologram testing out in that part of the desert.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The very first one we ever saw, somebody said they seen a giant Indian head in the sky. I was like, what? They took a picture of it. I'm like, what the hell is this? So I was like, this has to be some kind of hologram. It took 5 years to find out that it was actually a hologram.
Oh, wow.
Since that point, they had done other stuff like UFOs. One of them had an aircraft carrier floating across the sky. I mean, it was just crazy shit. And they were just trying to see how big of an object they could put in the sky. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to see what it is, but all the aliens love us long time, baby. They love us long time. The reptilians, especially. Hey Sherry, they think we're think we're very cute. The reptilians say we're very cute and very tasty. I mean, no, just very cute. They're not the ones.
I'm gonna throw up an image right now of a humanoid, and this is what AI came up when I said Nordic aliens. Gave me a bunch of women.
They'll go Nordics. See, that's another big argument. Some people say the Nordics are humans. Some say they're reptilians. Some say they're grays. Same thing with the Pleiadians. They argue about what actual race there is. Right. But the human aliens kind of look like that. But first off, the human aliens, when you meet, we'll use a male. So you meet a male human alien, he's going to be 7 to 8 foot tall.
Yeah.
He's going to be built, he's going to be proportioned for his height, but that's how he's going to be. But there's a big secret to it. So you're looking at him face on, he looks like we do. When he turns his head is this much longer than ours.
Oh, does it go back?
Turn your head, it goes back. It doesn't go up, it just goes back. So what's interesting about that, it's the same shape of what they said those pharaohs had that disease in Egypt way back. Well, the more they investigated the pharaohs, they found that a lot of those pharaohs weren't related. So they were trying to figure out why they all had the disease. And they were pharaohs, which means they were running Egypt even with that deformity. And that's what they said some of those things were, so they could put it on and push it up. Those different images you see, different types of hats that were made to fit it.
Sure.
They were trying to hide it, but more than likely those are human aliens actually screwing around with Egypt. But there's more than that. I mean, if you look at the reptilians are in every culture. Matter of fact, they were considered good in every culture until the time of Christ, until the Greys showed up on the planet. Once the Greys showed up and Christ showed up, the reptilians got in a doghouse, mainly because, the serpent gave Eve the apple and on and on. We got thrown out of, we got kicked out of the Garden of Eden. But
here's our reptilians, or AI's interpretation thereof.
Well, that's kind of different. That's a little weird looking.
Yeah.
Kind of flatten out their head. It should be a little different than that. But what's weird about the reptilians is they're all one species. They always try to make them different species. They're all one species, but some of them have wings, some of them have gills, some have these weird tack things on. They're all developed differently because either they lived on different places on their home planet or they lived on different planets. Because their home planet, just like the Greys, their home planet is supposed to be a good distance off, but they've colonized planets nearer to us.
Right.
But then that doesn't really tell you anything, because we're not in the Milky Way, so to speak. So when you look at the Milky Way, you get these spiral arms. There's three of them. There used to be two.
Right.
They added, so there's three of them. And the galaxy went from 100,000 light years across, 160,000 light years across.
Yeah.
Well, we're not in the spiral arm. We're actually past it. We're more in interstellar space. We're in between the bands.
Aren't we part of the remnant of like the Sagittarian galaxy?
A lot of people say that we could be, because the Sagittarian galaxy came in like this, pushing on top and put its way through. Even though there's a bulge of it still sticking out, but it was in our section of the galaxy, and we could have easily been in there and been pushed through and deposited here with all those red dwarfs, because all the red dwarfs around us are from the Sagittarian galaxy. So why wouldn't Earth be from it? That makes things change too, because that makes you think, was those aliens from this solar system and now found themselves in a new galaxy, or were they not from this solar system and found this solar system by accident because we've been pushed through and found there were life here, so they wanted to study life from a different galaxy?
That kind of makes sense.
You know, so it's hard to say exactly, but it does look more and more like Earth's not original to the Milky Way. And we won't even know until we can get core samples. And I doubt we're getting any time close to the core of the galaxy for a long, long time. I mean, probably 100,000, a million years, but we'll be able to get a core sample. But right now we can't, so we can't actually say where we're from.
Right.
But it looks, because of where the Sagittarius galaxy is and where we're located, it does look like that's where we came from. And it's not beyond reason.
More evidence is pointing to that. Yeah, it's interesting.
And that would have made sense how we got pushed down into this area.
Yeah,
deposited into this area, because everything else is in the damn bands where there's tons and tons of stars and tons and tons of planets. All
we're kind of tucked into this weird little pocket in the black, of the galaxy.
We're out in the black. And you'd have to wonder how an alien race even found us. We're so far away from the spiral arm that.
Maybe it was an observation over time. It's like, we should head there once we're able to.
They probably somebody was probably cruising along in one of the bands and said, "Is there a planet out there? Where the hell did I come from?
That's new.
Go take a look at that." And when they got here, they're like, "Oh, we found some dumb people living here. We got to check this out."
We found a bunch of monkey people. We have a question from Heidi. She wants to know your thoughts on the Jedi people. She's still floored that I described someone very similar to that she experienced as well. And I don't know if you remember that story briefly. I was in Santa Cruz. I was working a DJ job, and I see this little girl who she has platinum blonde hair and a page boy cut. She's wearing red and white stripes and red pants, and she has gigantic glasses on, sunglasses with red rims. I'll never forget that. And she freaks out when she sees at the time, it was like 2002, and the new VW Bug had just come out, and there was one parked there, and she's pointing at it. She's freaking out. No words are being spoken. She's just pointing at it, freaking out, and she keeps looking back like she is talking. And I follow the eye line back, and there's a woman there, hint of a breast under what I describe as Jedi robes. And she is at least 6'5", 6'9", maybe even 7 foot tall. She was a distance away. But
which state?
California and Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk.
So that could have been Charles Hall's people.
That's exactly what I thought, because both the daughter and the mother had these extra long fingers.
Yeah, that sounds like extra long. Charles Hall's people.
Yeah, I think those were the tall ones.
Sometimes they would dress in robes. A lot of times, anytime they went anywhere, even if they went in robe, they always had those big long black jackets on that went down. Those I forgot what they call them, but we would have those on. They always had big glasses on. They usually were wearing some kind of hat. They always cover their heads because their heads are shaped differently than ours. Yeah, they always cover their feet because their feet are shaped different than ours. Their hands are like ours, but they're longer and weirder.
Way longer, yeah. Very articulated.
They get way taller than we do. I mean, an old one can get as tall as 9 feet. So
she was pretty tall. I make her 7 foot at the highest, but nonetheless.
The older they get, the taller they get. They also get more fragile as they get older, but still.
Yeah.
It takes a long time for them to get there, but they got way longer lifespans than we. But it does sound like that. Now there is the Holocaust cloak group, which is so you got two groups actually. You got a group of Grays that like to play good cop, bad cop. I have no idea why. And I guess they just watched some TV show somewhere and thought it was a good idea.
You know what? The humans tend to respond to this.
But they also have men in black who do it.
Oh.
And so the men in black are funny because they'll put these long Holocaust cloaks on and they'll go harass somebody. And somebody had one will have glowing white eyes, one will have glowing red eyes. And they're pretty much doing the same thing, playing good cop, bad cop. They're like, well, if you don't do what we say, we will eat you. Excuse me, you're not eating me. I will shoot you. I told a Gray that one night. I was like, look, you come any closer than where you are, I will shoot you. I said, I always wondered what a Gray tastes like. And they were like, like you had to get melted. So, but no, really, I mean, we have had encounters with the ones with what I like to call Holocaust cloaks. And
interesting.
But what you're describing, especially being where it's at, sounds like Charles Hall's Tall's White. That's what it sounds like.
That was my conclusion as well. And I had just heard Charles Hall's thing before. Yeah. And he was this taller woman was flanked by two men in black and they were full on black suits, the whole thing. Right. But they had trench coats on, like driver's trench coats. They're kind of cut short. But one was beige and one was blue. That was the only thing that differentiated them from being men in black. Yeah, and then limousine shows up and everyone drives them off.
So 2 times I was harassed by them. They were wearing gray suits, driving a gray vehicle with silver tinted windows, wearing gray Armani suits, beautiful suits. I have been harassed by 2 guys. Well, I wasn't harassed by these 2 guys showed up at my house to bring me a package that Senator McDonald sent me, and they were in black suits, and they were in a black limousine in black suits. The first time they showed up in gray suits in a black limousine and said, Senator McDonald would like to talk to you. I said, I'm not getting in that limousine. You're crazy. I said, do I have stupid written on my forehead? No, I don't. And then I said, well, let me go upstairs. He said, there's no reason to go get your gun. He said, it's not what this is about. Because what had happened about almost a year earlier, maybe 9 months earlier, I got a phone call from an aide from Senator McDonald saying, he would like to speak to me about something he saw. I said, you are so bleeping, full of bleeping. And I hung up. And then about a couple months after that, I got another call. And I was like, nope, bleeping, nope. And then I got a call who he actually said, I'm Senator McDonald. I said, you are bleep. And I hung up. So it was about 3 weeks, maybe 6 weeks after that, somebody come knocking on my door. And that's when I opened, I see these 2 guys and I see the limo. I was like, oh, shit, I'm in trouble. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh man, nobody's at home. I couldn't even tell anybody I was going to be zapped away. The guy's like, dude, it's not like that. Just come get in the car and talk to the senator. So I'm not getting in that car. So you're going to, we're going to have to drag you there? I said, dude, you know, special force, I will whip both your asses. I said, don't think you're going to drag me anywhere. And he started laughing. He said, and then I seen the window crack down and I seen his face. And so anyway, I walked over there. The guy opens the window. I see him. I get in the car. We go have lunch. And he goes, Mr. Montaldo, just call me Joe. And he goes, on such and such a night, I was driving through New Mexico. It was wee hours in the night. I was headed home from some place, and this triangle thing zipped my car like maybe 50 feet above my head, just almost blew me off the road.
Like a show of force pass that the jets do?
Just like, okay. And he said, then in a couple minutes, it came back. He said, now this thing was black. It had an orange orb in the middle. I said, it's a TR3B. He's like, what? I said, it's a TR3B. I said, sometimes they have white lights on each corner, sometimes they don't. He said, yeah, I noticed that when it went by the first time they were on, and came back second time they were off. I said, they can actually turn everything off once they're cruising. I said, but that's ours. I said, you were in a no-fly zone, weren't you? He checked it out. He said, yes, I was. I said, the TR3Bs try to stay inside of no-fly zones. I said, they're very advanced. There's a lot of rumor on what propulses them. Some people say it's magnetic drive. Some people say gravity drive. But anyway, whatever kind of drive it is, they're very advanced. I said, they've been clocked outside of Pensacola at Mach 14, not even breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
And he said, are you sure? He said, I'm in charge of the top secret appropriations committee. No money goes to anybody without going through me. And I started laughing. So what you want to say? Obviously, it went. You didn't. And that's when I looked at him and said, them $5,000 hammers and $80,000 toilets. I said, that's where that money was going.
Exactly.
And he got kind of pissy, and he's like, I said, look, I don't know what else to tell you, but that's what they are. So I'm telling you now, that's what it is. He said, well, I'll tell you what, Joe, if I ever find out that's real or anything on it, I will contact you, because he found out how he knew what my security clearance, and that was another thing that bothered him. He goes, and I don't understand. He said, you're nobody. Your security clearance is twice what mine is. I said, ain't that a bitch? And I said, I got a show coming. I got to go. And 6 months goes by. These two guys in black outfits come up. I'm like, oh shit, here comes the men in black. What did I do now? And he had a white envelope and a vanilla envelope, which was about that thick, and it was legal. And I was like, okay. I read the thing. It's a really nice letter from the senator. I still got it. Really, really nice letter from the senator. And so I put it up. I get inside. I sit down. I roll up a fatty. I figured I'm going to need something to keep my brain for this. Pulled out this stuff out of there. And he sent me the whole freaking schematics of the TR3. I mean, everything. Everything. How it was built, what drives it, what kind of weapons. It's got weapons on board this thing. It's got light weapons on board this thing, whatever the hell that is. Some kind of
particle beams or something like that.
It's some kind of they call it light weapon. It clearly says that on the thing.
It's probably a particle beam.
So I would check it out, see if it was lasers. With some, he said, no, that's not what a laser is. Joe. No. Lasers got light. He said, but that's not what they are. He said they're more like plasma weapons. Yeah. So it took us a while to find out what they were talking about. But I mean, he told me what the propulsion system was, what the stabilization system was. The damn thing has no top speed. Matter of fact, it says in the diagram, the top speed is limited by the human body.
Oh, by the yeah. I've heard something about
take. Yeah.
What we can handle.
He said even in pressure suits in the whole 9 yards, the maximum they could do was about 15 G's. It would kill you. He said the thing is capable of speeds. They said you can get to Mars in less than 8 minutes. 8 minutes. It takes us 9 months. 8 minutes. I'm like,
yeah, regular thrust with chemical fuel. It probably would with the gravity drive or whatever it was.
Yeah, they said there was a whatchamacallit system on board. What do you call it when they put you out and they put you away to let you,
Oh, cryo sleep or some sort of suspension.
Kind of cryo system on board. Yeah. He said everything on board was telepathic. It all worked through telepathic means, so the pilots had to be.
F-47 works like that.
Yeah, well, F-22 does.
That's right. The 22 did too. I forgot about that.
22. They were the first ones they put that in there with. What makes them so deadly and so bad. And now that's what got so many pilots killed, because in the beginning they were using this and it reacted so fast.
Yeah.
And when the one guy, I was listening to one guy talk about it. He said, yeah, I was just going to bring it up and hold it up on a tilt so I could just flip over and kill the plane. He said it worked so fast that I found myself flipping over backwards. He said, now you know what to do. And I'm thinking, I'm panicking, and that's in my head. And then I realized stable, and the plane stabilized itself. He said, it is such a joy to fly. He said, there is nothing in the sky that can come close to it. And he said, that new J35, the Chinese building, he said, you might as well put that in the car. Just jump.
Yeah, exactly.
He said, but it also explains why we don't sell them to anybody.
Yeah.
We sell the F-35 to everybody and their mom. The F-22 is only for homeland security.
That's right.
There's only 186 of them, and they're only for security in the U.S. They're not for sale.
Yeah.
Because there's so much equipment on there that nobody knows about that they're not there. You can tell there is some type of alien technology involved in that plane, because it is insane. Yeah. And the 47's a beast. And then we got the new one, the SR-72, which is going to replace the SR-71.
I was wondering if that was off the line yet.
No, it might be. It's got a top speed of Mach 6. Well, you know what's funny about that? So I was always told the SR-71 had a Mach 3, right? So
Mach 3 or Mach 4. Yeah.
I'm in San Antonio, New Mexico. I went to go get a friend of mine to go out. He's in the Air Force. I'm in the Navy. I happen to be in Texas. So I drive down, so I'm going to pick him up. So you get out there, these B-52s are all over the place, right? And I'm like, what? And there's a yellow line, big yellow circle, and there's a red circle. and then you see some guy standing inside the red circle. So I'm looking for my friend. He's out there. He's SP, so I know he's out there somewhere. So I'm walking along, and he see me come running over to me. He said, "Joe, stop." He said, "The red circle, the yellow circle. If you walk inside, you're gonna get a warning." He said, "If you step in the red circle, they're gonna shoot you dead." He said, "They have orders to shoot on sight, man." I'm like, "Josh," he said, "No, I'm not shitting you. You don't come walking up to a B-52, you get killed." And while we're sitting there talking, this SR-71 comes by. The nose cone is glowing orange. I mean, it's like pulsating orange.
Really?
So right off the bat, I knew it takes at least Mach 5 to get it heated up like that. That plane was doing somewhere between Mach 5 and Mach 7. So screw the Mach 3. I don't know where they got the Mach 3 from.
Oh, I'm sure that
but
was
it also loses all
thing.
stealth abilities when it goes that fast. Because of the heat is picked up on the radar. He said, I know they go faster than Mach 3. That's all I'm going to tell you. So when I went back to the Nimitz, I was talking to a pilot there who had actually flown. And he said, yeah, he said, I had it up to Mach 6.3. He said, it's classified still, but he said, that thing is so fast. By the time he said, it's so fast, why they could never make it into a weapons carrier. It was faster than the missiles were.
It's faster than the missiles.
He said, if you tried to launch a missile, it would just...
it would lag.
Yeah, he said you couldn't shoot bullets out of it because it was way faster than the bullets were. You'd have to slow down to shoot it. I was like, what? I was like, Jesus. He said after I flew that, he was a test pilot. And I remember when we got the Hornets on when they were brand new, they were beastified.
They're
not compared to what we have today, but the F-35 is a piece of, whoever sent me that message, the F-35 is a piece of junk. But we keep selling them to our friends because it's a piece of junk. Look, I'll never understand why we did that. The F-22 is such a better plane than the F-35.
Oh, yeah.
But for some reason, we decided to go with the F-30. Now we got all kind of new. Oh, yeah, there's an F-36 coming out, too.
I didn't know about that one. That's kind of cool.
It sounds like, at first I thought it was an updated version of the F-35. It's a little bit bigger and a little bit faster than the F-35.
Is that the one that's kind of flatter too?
Yeah, it looks like a little flat. And then the Navy's got all kind of weird stuff coming out, but all the new Navy planes are no pilots.
Yeah, the drone, yeah.
So, and then the Navy's got the 2 drones that fly with the F-22s and the F-35s. So the Navy built these
F-47
badass
can deploy their own, right?
Yeah, so now when you see one plane coming, there's going to be 2 or 3 drones attached to it.
Yeah.
And they fly. Whatever the pilot does, they fly with the pilot.
Yeah,
when the pilots attack, they just attack. And if there's a missile coming for the pilot and they can't shoot it down, the drone will sacrifice itself.
Yeah, that's
to make sure that pilot survives. I'm thinking, wow, this is getting scary technology.
Yeah.
This shit we used to watch in the movies when I was a kid, man. This stuff's getting crazy.
It's amazing.
But that's all based on probably alien tech we got out of Roswell. And before anybody asked, we did not. Roswell, the aliens did not crash the spaceship in Roswell. We crashed the spaceship in Roswell. It's a shame Werner von Braun's not alive because he would have told you that himself. Carolyn, when I talked to her about it, she actually talked about it. So what happened is nobody knows why this happened. Somewhere in 1890, 1900, some alien race came here. Sounds like the human race came here and gave a saucer, one of those metal, I guess it's like a cargo ship or something, gave it to the Germans. And you can tell because right after that, and from 1911 to 1916, everything the Germans built looked like a saucer. They had a saucer tank, they had a saucer plane,
right.
they had a saucer boat.
That's right.
I mean, they went crazy with this stuff.
Yeah.
But they could never figure out how it actually worked. Werner von Braun said they had tried everything they could just to get in the damn thing, much less to get it to fly. So when the U.S. came and took all those scientists, they took that saucer with them.
Ah, I see.
So the story goes, the Greys came to Roswell and said, okay, you got one of our saucers, and we're going to show you how to fly it so you can at least get an understanding of how of its flight. So they got out there. I don't know what happened. They got out there. People say it was lightning. That's not what it was. The problem was the Greys weren't flying it. We were flying it. So the Greys were there, but by the time the Greys tried to take command of the craft, it was too late. It was already headed for the mountain. So the Greys ejected. It's the only reason why there was a debris field, because this ship, when it came down, it hit a mountain. It had one little tiny hole in it. The rest of the ship stayed intact. It was found in Corona, Arizona, in
Corona or
New
Aurora?
Mexico. And
Okay.
of course, we know that the other ship was found in Roswell, New Mexico,
Yeah.
spread across the debris field. And from that, we seen in the Roswell, was it the Gazette? They showed a picture of what looked like just any chip we would use today. But of course, there was little tiny little things about this big, but there's a little tiny little microchip that we use today, which we still don't understand how a microchip works inside. We just know it works. Don't ask. We still ain't figured it out, but we still use them. Aircraft aluminum and fiber optics. I had three pictures of that. And so this is fiber optics we only invented 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where it was useful. And we use it today. It's on every telephone pole you see. Anytime you see a loop, people on a pole, that's fiber optics.
Yeah.
They have to put a loop on it so it doesn't break. You can't bend it like you do cable, but you can. They make a loop if they've got to turn it or something. That's fiber optics. And fiber optics is way better than cable is. No latencies, no drag. Just it's a better project all the way around. Works really well. And,
they just installed that on my street recently.
And they just told me the other day they got fiber where I live. I'm calling and have it switched over. Because I have actually had fiber optic in the house. Whoever, when they built it, had fiber put in.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to have them hook it up and just run a little bit faster and a little bit smoother. But it's stuff like that. When you look at it, you're like, wow, what happened here? We get somebody, lightning brought it down. Really? Lightning brought down the ship that can cross interstellar space? I don't think so.
You think they'd run into something similar like that and have
way worse,
preparation for it?
I'm sure that the amount of radiation and all that crossing in the cosmos, or if they're traveling faster than light speed, or if they're jumping through wormholes, all of that has to be way more stressful than lightning is. So and besides that, I would think a ship like that would be able to divert the electricity. It just looks like the humans lost control of it, is what it looks like. And the way we found it out was two Cub Scouts or two Boy Scouts and their Cub Master came walking up on the ship. There was 4 bodies outside the ship glowing this pinkish color. They looked human, but they were kind of melting. And they made their report, made their story, and disappeared. No one ever knew what happened to them. Have never been seen since. Whether they offed them or did something else with them, we don't know. Maybe they gave them a new life. Who knows when it comes to our government, but they're no longer around. They're adios amigos.
Wow.
And that's just how that went. And then, of course, we had the ones at Corona where they said they just recovered one gray. My problem with that is okay, you recovered a gray. If the Greys didn't come get them or the ship, then the Greys wanted us to have it.
Interesting.
Or maybe, I don't know. But maybe the Gray they recovered was a cook. Obviously,
that's entirely possible. I mean,
I'm just saying. We don't. It's, maybe he's the guy that makes the blue plasma. Who knows?
Yeah,
he didn't see anything about the engines, so that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that is interesting. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take a very, very short identification break, and then we'll be back in about 15 seconds. This is the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 in the Gulf Coast. UPRN TalkRadio.com. Esoteric programming at its finest. And we're back with Joe Montaldo. And we're talking about alien abductions and crazy technologies that they have and the stuff that we gleaned from it and all kinds of fun stuff. We were talking about the different alien species, and we talked about the so-called Nordics. This is what AI gave me, folks. Then we talked about the reptilians, and now we're talking about the Greys. I don't know if they look like that, but there's various things. AI just...
Well, I will tell you that they're not gray.
They're not gray. They're like a bluish or something?
Well, they, for the most part, the ones they consider grays are kind of a cobalt blue might be the best way. Well, it's weird. So after they feed, they're like a deep, dark cobalt blue. As it drains out of their system, they become translucent. I think that's where people get the gray from.
I see. Okay.
There's also white and brown ones.
Are they also hybridized to a degree? Some of them?
Well, they're all hybridized from the light beams, because when the light beams came here, how many ever billions of years ago it was, They talk about the light beings coming here, finding our galaxy in a blaze. Just the whole fucking galaxy was in a big ass war, and the light beings didn't figure they could take on everybody, so they took the Greys and converted the Greys. They hybridized the Greys for a lot of things. They gave them the ability to go from one body to another. The Greys never die as long as there's a host body nearby. I don't know what nearby to them is. Could be several galaxies away, as far as I know. Whatever it is, they can jump their body to another body. They can also store themselves inside of a hologram or a computer.
Okay.
So, as far as I know, there's no way to really kill them. Maybe melt them in the sun before they jump or something. I don't know. It's weird. The reptilians and humans have a similar tech. The humans have a technology that does it. The Greys is all organic. It's a lot different. It's still a technology, but it's an organic technology, and they can go from one body to the other. And it is something that's interesting because on board ships over the last 5 decades, people have reported seeing these big tubes with humans in them. There's rows and rows and rows of humans. And when sometimes people walk up to them, it looks like you. Not exactly like you. Be a different kind of body, might be a little structured differently, but it's you. And the kids will be there sometimes too. So a lot of keepers said they had made deals so that they would, when the time comes, they would take the kids and leave them behind to do the cleanup with the whatever happens.
Huh.
The 1/3 of all contactees talk about the Holocaust dream. No one knows exactly what it is. Most people think it's a virus of some sort that the contactees are immune to. And they said the government was trying to steal contactees to try to figure out that immunity to save different people on the planet. And they created a group of keepers that when the time comes, they upload those keepers into a specific type body. I guess it's like a battle body. They have telekinesis, telepathy, empathic abilities at a very strong rate, almost as good as the Greys themselves. And their job is to go out, find lost contactees and lost abductees, and bring them back to a meeting point so the ships can take them off world. And anybody who's holding any illegally, they're supposed to go take them. You've heard contactees talk about melting military people because they wouldn't let go of the contactees, or ripping pieces. There. But the funny part is those people can only stay here. There's going to be at least 2 colonies we know of Mars. One's in Sydney, one's in Seattle, and those are going to be 2 settlements left behind, just for members of all the races that visit here and us. But they can't. They don't want to let the people who had to do all the killing and nastiness go to the new worlds because it's bringing a tainted image there. So they're not going to let them go. And then you hear these contactees talk about these worlds where there's 10, 15 different races. There's all kind of things. Everything's created through thought. It sounds like a wonderful place to live. Except for the ones who get stuck here, they're going to have to deal with it the hard way.
Yeah. I heard one contactee describe, I think it was on a humanoid, for lack of a better term, ship, where there was a wall at one section of the ship, and they can walk up to the wall, and I guess you touch it, and you think about whatever you want, and it produces it. Like that. Kind of like a replicator, but it's not just food, it's whatever, a dog, a cat,
so
a car.
On the motherships, for all 3 of the races, actually, on the motherships, when they send you to your room, it's just 4 walls and a floor. There's nothing in it.
Yeah.
So you think about a bathroom, it puts a bathroom in there. It'll put the bed in there, whatever you think about, it'll put a sink in there. But what's great about a lot of this stuff is that it disappears when you're not using it. So when you think about it, it appears again. When you're not using it, it disappears. But anything you can think about, including food, will be producing it. But what's funny is they do have a cafeteria on board where a bunch of different, including our people, go eat. They don't have to go in there to eat. They can eat in their rooms. But they go in there more to, I guess, talk to other aliens.
Huh.
And what aliens you hear the most about is the black-eyed people.
Black-eyed people?
Yeah, we call them black-eyed children here, but they're black-eyed.
Okay. I was just going to ask about that.
People. Yeah, they're whatever. When you hear of somebody talking in the paranormal field about these black-eyed things, These are aliens. These aren't demons. These aren't ghosts. Not to say there aren't demons or ghosts out there like that, but in this case, they're extraterrestrial. And they're a lot like us. They're built a lot like us. Their body runs a lot like ours do. Other than the black eyes, there's not much difference between us. And they're around the same technological places we are.
Interesting.
And they're being abducted just like we are.
Huh.
So they're being taken at the same rate we are. So whatever they're doing with us, they're doing with them. And they're not the only race on there that seems to be abducted. I see a dozen races on there that are being taken. And they allow all of them to interact with each other, which is a little strange and a little crazy if you ask me, but they do. There's on a couple of the ships, when you walk out onto the hallway, there's an arboretum that goes top of the ceiling to the bottom. You can't see the top or the bottom. You can hear the waterfall at the bottom, but you can't actually see it. It's so tall.
Oh, wow.
They're saying, they said the humans and the reptilian ships are square and the gray ship is round. And the gray ship sits out somewhere between Jupiter and Saturn, so it just looks like one of Saturn's moons floating around. That's how big it is.
Oh, wow. So it's spherical.
Yeah, that one is. And the other two, when you look at them, they look just like a gray ship. I mean, a Borg ship. That's the ones they've seen on NASA, seen those. So you just kind of wonder, but they're huge. They can't even get close to our planet without doing damage to our planet.
Oh, they're that big. Wow.
Yeah, if they even got close, they would do damage to our planet. That's why they send other ships here. And that's like with the Greys, they send a little carrier here to keep all their saucers safe while they're doing whatever they're doing. I mean, we're still a long time away from being able to blow them out the sky or anything. But give us another 10,000 years or so. We're going to get them.
Yeah.
And now this is a good one for you. The military, all military in our country has an order not to approach, not to shoot at them.
That's probably for the best. Well, that reminds me of when we did try and shoot them down, like back in the 40s and 50s. It was oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Project Blue Book. The captain who was part of that worked alongside Alan, Dr. Allen, what's his name?
Dr. Allen, yeah.
Thank you. The guy was a pilot in World War II. He goes up and apparently he engaged UFO, fired at it, blew past it, or went off to one side, and it fired his own bullets back at him. Like it caught it and then shotgunned his plane, or shotgun effect, his plane, and then damaged it pretty heavily. But I mean, yeah, when you have the ability to, you can't even, bullets they hit this magnetic field and you fire right back at you. Oh my God, that's just insane. What about that one Russian report that says they took it down with a few missiles or something like that? Was that an early test of one of our supposed mimicking vessels that mimicked the alien stuff, or?
It might have been. It might have just been a bunch of BS too. It's hard to tell with the Russians.
Yeah,
especially since they're so far behind us technologically.
Yeah,
you've got to. As far as I know, the only UFOs that was ever downed were given to us.
Okay.
It sound even when you listen to the one from 1812, the Sky Ship. It doesn't sound like an alien craft. And since it was where the stuff was dumped in the well with poisoning people from radiation, it sounds like something we were doing.
Yeah,
something we had made or something. But
could have been.
And you never know with the Russians. They're a strange race. But the Russians had to deal like just what we did when the UFOs flew over and turned off their silos.
Yeah. Holy crap! Can you imagine that?
Any jets report everything going dead on their jets as they approach them.
Oh yeah, I've heard that too.
I don't know if you could shoot one down. I don't know if you get the energy out of them. I mean, when you go back to the Foo Fighters, they're interesting because they used to mess around with all the air forces and all, whether they allies or Axis, and the maneuvers. Some of those maneuvers we can reproduce now with drones, but the speeds.
Yeah.
When you hear the pilots talk about them, they just blow by. One of the guys was talking about it blew so fast it made the tail end of the plane lift up.
Oh,
and drop
wow.
back down. It just kind of does suck. It's just like a suction force. He said
Crazy.
no one ever tried shooting at him because the bullets don't go that fast. So there's no way you're going to hit them. I did hear in Belgium doing the triangle sightings.
Mm.
First night they sent a group of F-16s out there. Only 2 of the F-16 actually seen the targets. The other 4 couldn't even see the target.
Oh, wow.
And you get a lot of those in mass sightings, and only a limited amount of people can see it, which just suggests only contactees can really see UFOs.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, you've got Phoenix. Too many
I was
people
just going to
didn't
ask
see
you
it.
about Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you only got 2 million people. You got 2 million people in Phoenix. 14,000 seen it. It was even on television. Only 14,000 people saw it. You got 22 million in Mexico City, where this thing hovered for a day. Only 1 million people saw it. No one else saw it. You've got the one in New York where a handful of people saw it. No one else saw it, because if you haven't been in a craft or exposed to the craft, whatever it is, you can't see them.
That's
But
crazy.
when you have been exposed, you can. You can definitely see them. Doesn't matter what country you're in or where you are in the world. When you hear a mass sighting, only a small percentage of the people see them. There has to be a reason why for that no one else saw. I mean, there's been a lot of mass sightings, but only a handful saw them, and those were contactees. I bet you money on that.
So, as abductees, these people are somehow imbued, like exposed to something, maybe, and imbued with the ability to see or
Whatever
sense these craft.
that they generate, they've probably been exposed to.
Okay.
There's a lot of times contactees will tell you, "Oh, one's on its way," and then poof, there it'll be, and you can see it. And, but like in Gulf Breeze, there was one sitting in Gulf Breeze last time we were out there. About 300 of us saw it, and nobody else saw it. And then there was the one that came underneath. So they were doing a big thing with what's that one Jonathan Franks does? Untold Mysteries.
Right.
So Untold Mysteries was Unsolved Mysteries. They were out there with their people. The mayor was out there. The police chief was out there. A couple other people out there. The whole bridge was full. The fishing pier, there was about 700 people on it. So I'm watching this green thing out about a half mile out in the bay, and it's headed towards the bridge. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm telling people. Some people saw it, some didn't. It went underneath our bridge, went under the main bridge, went on the railroad truss, and then it raised out of the water. And as it raised out of water, it looked like it was like these gold balls just dripping off the side. It was really weird looking.
Wow.
No one Unsolved Mysteries saw it, even though they had the camera running. No one saw it.
Even the camera didn't take it?
So out of the 700 people on that bridge, only 100 people saw it.
Wow.
Yeah, and why? What's the difference? I mean, they were standing next to each other.
That's crazy.
And people, and you can see the one with Jaime Maussan in Mexico City. They're pointing at the thing, and I seen it on camera. All the people around them didn't see it.
So even if you get a photograph of this thing, only certain people could see it?
It's well, you don't really so I've never seen a real photograph taken up close, because from what I understand, if you're within 2 miles of the craft, it emits a field where you're not going to get anything but a blur.
Oh, gotcha.
But long distance shots, anybody can see. If you can get a long distance shots when it's exposed, you can see it. But that's probably one that's not running whatever they usually run. It's probably one just sitting out there doing whatever. It's probably thinking it's safe. It doesn't have to have the field running.
Gotcha.
And somebody got a picture of it. There's a really good one taken in Brazil. You see this big disc, and it comes down. It's hovering over the desert. It's so close to the floor that it's kicking up a dust storm, so you can see the dust and the lightning going between the craft and the ground. And I think that's what lit up the craft, so you could see it.
I see.
Lightning charging the craft. It's like the one we show all the time online. The day we were there, we didn't see it, but it shows up in the picture clearly now.
Mm.
It's a very strange. Let me see if I can find it. It's a very strange
go ahead and
thing.
find that. Put it up. But there was a. Yep, that thought went away.
I love it. I always love when that happens. Let me see.
It's good time. It's good times. There was a. What was I going to say? About it was a. Oh, I guess it has something to do with Mount Shasta. That there was a.
There was a serious thing there.
Yeah. It's like 200 miles north of me too. I should go check it out.
Well, I got a phone call one evening from a group of Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts who were out there. And most of them didn't want to talk about it, but a few did. And they talked about all this. First, they talked about a UFO coming out the side of the mountain. And then they talked about all these military people who came out the side and showed up where they were camping. And took them in, warned them about talking about what they had saw and all kinds of stuff. It was like a 2-day long event. But these people you could tell they were seriously damaged. I mean, they didn't want to talk about it. They were scared. Whatever it was, whatever the Uncle Sam told them, they didn't want to talk about it anymore. But there was a couple that came forward and talked about it. And they said it was creepy. I mean, this UFO came out the mountain, just big old saucer, just came out the side of the mountain, and all of a sudden, when they looked down, there were military people everywhere.
Wow. They were just suddenly there, huh?
They would
like some joint operation or something like that?
Well, there are some places where there's dual bases.
Okay.
For whatever reason. I mean, there's a lot of reasons it could be, but no one really actually knows why. I think those are handoff bases. Sometimes when they do an abduction, they'll hand it back off to the military.
Huh.
Okay, that's Travis Walton case was like that.
Okay.
When you listen to him talk, he talks about what happened, and then he talks about being brought into a hangar where these people were talking to him, not telepathically, but talking to him dressed like in C2C outfits.
Really?
So it sounds like the government. It sounds like the aliens handed him off to the government and said, "Here, deal with it."
Wow.
And what the hell is this thing? It's iCrawl1.com. I'm losing my mind, apparently.
That's floating around there somewhere.
It's well, you know, I've been noticing lately there have been some issues with the internet lately.
Me too. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's almost like somebody's screwing around with it or something. And then I noticed a lot of stuff's been disappearing off the internet.
I've noticed that as well. That happened to me maybe last week before. I know I had a lock on a given image. I was going to talk about it. And suddenly I couldn't find it anywhere. It was gone. I was like, what was that? And it wasn't even the best image in the world. It was, I think it was taken from a tracking system, weapons tracking system on a military base. It's an old piece of footage. It's been around since like the 80s or something like that. And it shows this hat, like pork pie hat UFO, just cruising along, and the camera keeps tracking it, and it keeps trying to dodge the camera. It looked like that anyway. And then it zips away. And it's like, that's pretty innocuous. I mean, there's no damage in seeing that. But suddenly it disappeared.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why things are disappearing. Old stuff keeps. Somebody said, "Oh, they need space." I said, "They don't need space.
No, they don't need space. Come on."
Well, they're adding space, so you don't have to think about that.
Exactly.
Let me turn this off.
It's just insane.
Where are we?
They need
there's a lot of that stuff going on, and where's this at? Present. Wrong button.
Wrong button. I do that all the time. Don't feel bad.
This one right here. Let's see. Let me make sure I put it on the screen where you can actually see it.
Yeah.
This is a weird photo. When you look at this was taken in Florida, near Blunt Island. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when you look at this, you just see an ordinary picture. Let me go where I can see it better. Come here, picture. So yeah, you're looking at it, you just see a power plant, right?
Yeah.
Little pretty water, little thing. So if you look up here in the left corner.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
See that little perfect orb? Now, if you look, you notice there's smoke coming out the smokestack.
Sure.
So this thing was invisible, whatever this was. And it's moving around because the smoke, it picked up the smoke, and that's what decolored it. So let's go to the other photo.
Oh,
now you can see it better.
Oh, wow. So
here's the smoke coming in. It's being grabbed by this, and it's just being pulled around. You can see the perfect edge all the way.
Oh, yeah.
The circumference is perfect. There's even a little hole in the center, and this is just smoke, guess, up against the surface of whatever this thing is.
It's like it's
So
yeah.
you're thinking, what is this? A UFO, or alien craft, something else? Well, if you look right here next to the side of the dam,
Oh,
it's a
look at
UFO,
that.
and it's banking for this hole right here. Now, none of this was
It's a
seen by the
recovery
eye.
system.
Yes, none of this was seen by the naked eye. This was caught by the camera.
I'll be damned.
We found it a couple of days after we were going through the film.
Huh.
A friend of mine, Jason Wilson, who's passed now, he's the one that got the picture originally.
Good
Little
job,
Marsh
Jason.
Island, Florida.
Huh.
It even tells you what. See, we always put down what we use. 2004 digital Canon A60. It even tells you what kind of camera it was.
Wow.
And,
That's amazing.
the thing is huge. I mean, it's almost as big as this freaking building over here.
Yeah.
George Norrie freaked out the first time he seen it. He was like, "What the hell?" I was like, "Yeah, it's a damn good picture. It looks like it drove the stone in the sky."
You know what that larger craft reminds me of? It reminds me of a craft that was painted into like one of the old Renaissance classics, where they have, and you have to get really close to it. It's a picture of the Madonna, right? But that's the main focus. But if you look above her, there's this saucer, and it has this flower, almost like this thing does. This 5-point flower underneath design, kind of embossed into it. And it's like, what's going on? Did he really see that and just put the Madonna in the foreground to hide it? That was crazy. But it's amazing. It's amazing. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because when you look at it, I mean, you can barely see this back here.
Yeah.
But you can tell it's the smoke coming from the stack that's making
Yeah,
this.
it's got swept up in it. Yeah.
This is when people ask me, do ET makes a mistake? Well, that's one of their mistakes right there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're not infallible, but
I mean, I mean, so we know they're recovering this craft, but what else were they doing? Were they stealing power? I mean, what was this craft doing?
Could have
If
been
it wasn't tilted, I would have probably not caught it. We didn't. So we seen this like 3 days. We didn't see this for almost 2 weeks. Nobody was looking for it.
Gotcha.
I had it. You know how I found it? I had it on my 70-inch TV.
Oh yeah, that helps.
Looking, I was like, oh, I said, what the hell is this? Yes, people, everything comes out better on a 70-inch TV.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, especially if it's digital. So, I mean, but here you can clearly see it's two.
Yeah.
Somebody says it's two. So I don't know. I think it's one with two. Maybe it's engines. Maybe it's lights. I don't know, but you can definitely see it's tilted. And it's tilted to the left, which is we're going right here.
Going right into it.
So I imagine it just flew right into this hole, and it's some kind of mothership of some sort, some kind of recovery ship.
Yeah.
It's a big one. I mean, so because when you go back and look at it here, I mean, here's the building underneath it. And it goes from basically from the middle of this cooler all the way across to the side of this building, all the way into here. Pretty big.
Yeah, and that's assuming it's on the same plane as the building. I mean, if that thing's even further back, that thing's got to be gigantic. I mean, miles across. And
that's the thing. It wouldn't have been for this stack lighting up. We would have never known it was there.
That's amazing.
But
well, I guess it would have to be close to the building if it swept up the smoke, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't imagine that smoke. It looks. If I had to say, I would say it's 100 yards maybe from the stack.
Really, you think it's that close? Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it could be further back, but I'm judging because it looks like if you follow this straight down, it's coming down over this one here.
Yeah.
So you're going from here all the way to probably the back of here. So 100 yards, maybe two. It's and what it also tells you there's a little light breeze blowing because the smoke is tilted.
Smoke is going, yeah.
But is it the breeze blowing, or is it because this thing's moving?
Oh yeah. Well, if you see, I mean, it's not unheard of or unwitnessed. There was a news segment on somewhere, and they were by an airport, and they see this thing blast through the clouds and actually manipulated the clouds as it went through. Made zero sound, and it was silverish, but it was like lightning. But you could see the effect on the cloud cover. It was a great shot. And they completely ignored it because it happened kind of like in the corner of the frame. But I mean, it's like, wow. And they
These two right here, this is actually a saucer landing on Eglin Air Force Base.
Oh, I've been to Eglin.
This was taken with a camera. This was with a camcorder. This was in 2001. We were out there screwing around one night and just looking around, and this thing came in. It kind of sat off the coast and waited for a minute, and then we knew there was a runway back there in the swamp because there's runways on this base that have no highways to them.
Yeah.
So they got to be like elevator bases going to ground. But we got it when it landed, and we got it when it was hovering. It's on. It was a camcorder, but these were actually pictures taken off of I think one of the TVs.
Oh, I see.
Well, back
so
then,
you kind of did a frame grab kind of a deal.
Yeah. Now I got to find one of those X so I can put it on because we still have the original cassette, but we don't have the camera.
We can get a deck player probably.
It was a Sony High 8 or something with the little
Gosh, I
cassette
still
in it.
have
So
my Sony.
I'm have to check and find one now. This thing, we don't know what the hell this was. This was just something streaking along. It ain't gonna let me.
Okay.
You have to blow up the screen on. Ladies and gentlemen, you can actually blow up the StreamYard image on the corner down there. Well, I'll say that. And then I disappeared us out of the screen. Down here on the right, there's a button.
Yeah, there's a full screen option. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. But still, it's still kind of small.
Still kind of small.
Yeah, I don't know why these wouldn't let us set them for blowing them up. One of these days I'll have to go back and look at it and see. But yeah, that was taken in 2001, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on in Eglin Air Force Base.
Eglin's a weird place. I landed there. I was a cadet, and I was there briefly. It was like we were getting picked up. No, were we getting picked up, or were we jump into another place? It was like a weird diversion. We weren't supposed to be there, and so we get off the plane we took, and then we were made to wait in a very specific place. And then we were given a ride to the gate, and we had to walk like a mile or 2 or 3 or 4, or I can't remember. But it was a long walk. And then we got to a civilian road, and that's where we got picked up. But if you look at it, I don't remember what gate that was. It wasn't the main gate to the... Say again?
On not far from where we are. Oh, you can't see the beach here, but right here, if you walk down this beach, this is another weird thing. So right there's a low-flying radar dome.
Okay.
You can't see it because this weird globe popped up on top of it. It looked like one of them, it just rolled up there and popped up on top of it.
Oh, weird. What is there?
It's just a weird globe. I wish I knew what the hell it was.
Huh. Crazy.
But this beach.
Yeah.
You walk down a half a mile and knew this beach.
Remember something
on
about
base.
that?
Yeah, on the base.
Yeah.
I got to go through it. Somebody the other day bitched at me. They were going through some of these pictures. It says the Gulf of Mexico, Joe. I said, that's because the pictures are from 2001, idiot. We got other stuff posted in different places. There's something. Where is it at? Let me see if I can find. It's a good read for anybody who. Well, that's a blood type study, but that's not what I'm looking for. Is that it? That's not it. Let's see if it's down here somewhere. So this is another weird thing. When you look at this, these are all so when you look at these maps.
Typo. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So this shows you the percentage of blood thrown out around our planet. Okay.
Okay.
Like if you go to America, different studies. So if you look at this, you notice this is all blue.
Yeah.
Central America is all blue, and all through Mexico is all blue.
All the way up to Canada. Yeah.
That's O blood.
Wow.
That doesn't have anything else in the world. So this shows there's a species here. Yeah, there's no, and the Spanish came over here and humped their way through Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Excuse my French, but I mean it's true though.
Yeah.
But it shows you the percentage right there. And it's almost 100%. There's a thing right there. 100% RH factor. So it's just.
When was this study done?
Oh, this study was done back in. Had to be somewhere in the early 2000s when we hooked up with this guy. Let me see if it says anywhere.
So, is there a correlation between abductees and blood type?
Oh yeah, there definitely is.
Okay.
So RH negative, which makes up about 15% of the world's population, makes up about 65% of all abductees. Yeah.
Well, I'm A positive.
Well, let's see. And Alfred Weber figured out that more than likely the abduction group right now is about 1.5 billion people.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, people, it doesn't matter if you're RH positive, they still abduct you. It's just for some reason they tend to like the taste of RH negative better. Don't ask me. Maybe it's less cholesterol or something. I have no idea.
Don't savor food. That's bad.
It's that's not what I was looking for. That's an interesting study though.
Yeah.
Is this it? No, this ain't it either.
You can find that at the ICAR website, ladies and gentlemen.
Abduction criteria. That's not it. And abduction criteria is always fun to read. There's always fun stuff in here to read, but that's not what I'm looking for. Anyway, that's associates. Drake equation. That's always fun. What the hell is this? I just seen it last night.
See, they keep taking stuff off the net.
This is Star Children. No, there's a discussion between myself and Kathleen Waldron.
Okay.
After she wrote her new book and I kicked her ass. Is this it? Well, anyway, people, it's on this list somewhere.
Okay.
Well, what bugs me is we seen it last night when we were in here. I even pulled it out to look at it. That's contact.
You guys search on that thing.
Drake equation. In case y'all know, that's just a Drake equation. That's how they prove how much life they think is in the universe.
Oh yeah.
That's associates. That's people that's worked on and off with us over the years. Half of them think I think are defunct. This is a picture of my wife and I when the Times Speaker Union did a full page article on us.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's crazy crap that was.
Nola. Oh.
Okay, this is it. Well, I don't know where the hell this thing is. And I just seen it last night. That's just fun.
Of course. That's not great.
It's case investigation cases.
Yeah.
That's just my ugly mug. Well, anyway, somewhere on here, people, is the oh, look at that pretty website. That thing's as old as I am. Yeah, so anyway, somewhere on here is a discussion between myself and Kathleen Waldron. I'm not sure why I can't find it. Maybe it's up here somewhere. Oh, wait. Here it is. Yeah. So when you get in here, this is us going back and forth.
Okay.
So it's me and I'm talking to you. This is reply to Joe from Kathleen Waldron. This is 2009. This is okay. There it is. See, Barney described redheaded, skinny Irishman. There, we went into that, and then this is what she wrote. As you go through, this is what I'm saying. This is what she's saying. It's really good. Anybody has any weirdness about the Hill case? This is a really good read. As you can see, it's quite a long read.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of information in it. That's because she wrote. That's the next page. I didn't realize that when she wrote her book, she took a lot of liberties in her book.
Oh,
and it pissed me off. And so I contacted her because I'd known Kathleen. I'd interviewed her half a dozen times or so. I mean, Betty describes a pull down map. She says it more than one time.
Yeah.
Well, Kathleen made it as a digital television thing.
No, Betty was pretty specific.
Yes, she was.
Like in the old naval charts, you pull them down.
So there was a lot of things that Betty said that she tried to change. Kathleen tried to change, which just irritated me.
Oh, wow.
It's what's this Ancient Aliens? What's that on? Oh, that's
show every Friday night on United.
It's free advertising.
The Now Project. This is one of the groups. I think this is one of the reptilian projects that our directors took on.
Oh, okay.
So there's a couple of projects like this scattered across the site. The Mosaic one right here. Now they gave up these projects. So I had 5 directors in 3 months get stage 4 cancer.
Get out.
Only one of them died, which was Deandrew, a good friend of mine. She was my conscience, but the rest of them managed to survive. But November used to keep this underneath her bed. She just sent it to me one day in an envelope and said, "I'm not doing this anymore." Okay. All of them got off the projects because they felt like the projects what was causing their cancer. And the ones who got off the projects got well.
Oh, man.
figure that one out. And then this is more stuff. This is Calvin Parker. This is the Pascagoula stuff. This is Brentwater. Matter of fact, Capel Green's coming out, people. I did the voice stress analysis for the movie Capel Green. Whether I'm going to be in it or not, I don't know. But it appears, I think it starts on the 20th. So it's about Rendlesham Forest and Larry Warren was the witness.
Oh, Rendlesham, man, that's one of my favorite ones. I love that case. That's a great case.
That's what that is. See, that's Land War Patrol. This is all people talking about it. This, of course, is Betty Hill. Betty Hill interview.
Yeah.
Betty Hill follow up. United States astronauts, which I interviewed over 60 of them now.
Good. Wow.
This is just another abduction case. This is another abduction case. These are audio files. ABC. See, you see what it says? Other audio files. ABC Roswell, 1947.
Oh, you have that?
Yeah. CBS Special Radio, 1949.
Yeah.
Now, how many of them are still active because they change links all the time? But once you know Area 51 discussed, Swiss air encounter, there's a lot of information on this website. And this, of course, Stanton Reed, we all loved him. Ronald Reagan's speech when he talks about aliens on the planet.
Yeah, his United Nations speech. Yeah,
that one's still on there.
That's curious. Yeah, that's a curious one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Montaldo. My name's Tim Sudano. This is Paranormal Insight, and we have a few minutes left in the show. And we are wondering if you got any questions for us. If you do, hop on the chat, ask those questions. Heidi had a few for us.
Heidi's an alien.
No, I don't think so. She has too many questions to be an alien. Or is that the plan?
Right. That's
we love you, Heidi. We're just teasing you.
Michelle told me she was an alien. We were talking about it last night. After the show, by the way. Not on the show.
Of course.
We get a lot of stuff, but people always ask me about abduction criteria. And there's a lot of different things that fall into abduction criteria. ICAR now has 100 pieces of abduction criteria. I think 50 we made public. So, because there's things that we can't make public because if we do, I'll never know if you're lying or telling the truth.
Right.
But, the goal is to find the real people and make sure that those are getting put into the database and stuff like that. Now, ICAR has restructured itself right now because I had just laid off. Well, not just, but about 9 months ago, I fired about half our directors. Okay, bad word. I retired half our directors. Well, it's not that. A lot of them were burnt out, had been with us since the start. The organization itself is 26, 27 years old.
Oh.
You get burnout. And I always tell them, when you get burnout, just take a vacation or tell them you want out. I said, don't just keep staying a director or investigator and not do anything. It doesn't help us.
Yeah, man.
We're looking for the truth. And somebody asked me one time, oh, you're looking for the truth for everybody? I said, of course I am. And then she goes, well, if you learn this, this, or this, are you going to tell us? I said, well, it depends what it is. If I find out they're eating this, I'm not telling none of y'all. I said, I'm just moving to someplace they can't find me. That's all.
Right.
It's,
putting on that tinfoil hat and hoping for the best.
They're not going to eat me. I'm way high in cholesterol. They're going to go eat some skinny person, but one of you lean people, yeah. As far as I know, they don't eat anybody. Really and truly, it seems like they all have their projects. It looks like the Greys were sent here because the reptilians and humans were about to get into a fight because the reptilians kept going to Samaria and stealing their women and raping their women and sending them back to having children. And those children were different. Those children were arrogant, egotistical. The children were the ones that the Sumerians, the ones that the human aliens made, were not like that. They were did what they were told. They could procreate. They could make meat. They never argued about anything. They just did what they were told. The reptilians came and found those women, got them pregnant. Those children were born. And those children were different. At first, I thought they would look different, but that's not what it was. They acted. Eventually, there was enough that they overthrew the Sumerians. Now we know this, people, because you don't take my word for it. Every human on the planet has a reptilian section in their brain. Every one of them.
This is true. And some of us even have more reptilian attributes to our physicality.
We'd be little wimpy nothings without it.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind when y'all are thinking about these things. I've won several bets on that, by the way. I've had people call me up. You're so bleep and bleep and bleep. I bet you it's bleep and $1,000. I said, really? They put somebody to hold the money, and usually I just tell them. I said, just look it up on the internet.
Yeah, man.
Some guy got so mad, he's cussing me we used to take phone calls back then. He's cussing me away. Some girls out there, she called in. She goes, I'm on the internet. She starts reading it to him. This guy's getting more pissed. She said, I'm going to send you the link. You just heard the guy go, click. He was mad as hell. There's a lot of things we don't think about, but I mean, we do have a reptilian section in our brain, and it is one of the driving forces that makes us who we are today. It's not the only one, but we do. And we do probably have a little bit of insect into us too. Well, a lot of people think the grays are insectoids.
And they're not.
But they don't. I think they're not that. And some people ask me if they were us from the future. No, they don't look like apes. So I don't think they're us from the future. And as far as the Manus go,
yeah, I was just going to ask you.
All the descriptions I've gotten from the Manus over the few decades I've been researching all turned out to be the same thing. They were being used by the human aliens as a fear-monger thing to scare contactees into submission.
Really?
And the way we found this out was a contactee was on a ship, and they had just done a bunch of stuff, and she had seen it, and she was walking into this cubby hole because the thing's always in a cubby, and she's seen it, and it freaked her out, of course, but she noticed it didn't react to it, and she started doing stuff. Then she said, I started sticking out my tongue and doing a la 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 and shit at it. It wasn't moving. So I walked over there and picked it up by hand, and I dropped it. She said it was a mannequin of some kind, a puppet of some kind.
Huh.
She said it wasn't even real. She said, so when the alien came back, she challenged the alien on it, and the alien brought it back to life, and it's doing all this stuff. And she said, it doesn't scare me. I know it's a puppet. And the alien admitted to it. That's what it was. So we've got 4 or 5 cases like that where they say it's the puppet.
Gotcha.
But is that 100% proof? No, people. When you're in this field, the idea is acquire enough information that you can say, okay, we're pretty sure that's what it is.
Right.
With the Manus, we can say maybe that's what it is. We can't say pretty sure. We can say there's a lot of stuff we can say, oh, yeah, you can bet your ass that's what it is. But there are things where we're kind of like, no, we're not really 100% sure. You know, it could be this, it could be that. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Well, you know what, Stephanie, I'll answer that right quick. So,
okay.
When I first got involved in it, I used to get all these women who would write to me, even a couple of men who said that they were having sex with aliens, the reptilians, to be specific. And I'm like, really? I said, you know, the reptilians are like, and I'm like, no, I'm not believing that. And then a friend of mine, Frenchie, I like to call her, she flew in to see me. So I was talking about her earlier. She flew in to see me for a hypnosis session. So we do this hypnosis because she was madly in love with this guy. And she kept telling me how beautiful he was and this, that, and that thing. I said, well, maybe it's one of them, you know, Palladians or something. So under hypnosis, I asked her, and see, people, there's lots of ways to do stuff. And that's one of the things we like doing this. So I asked her to reach out and feel his arm. I said, I know you grabbed his arm. I said, feel his arm. Tell me what it feels like. She said, it kind of feels like warm suede. She said, it doesn't feel sticky. And she said, it just feels like warm suede. And I said, well, run your hand up to his elbow. I said, reach back for his hand and tell me what you feel. She said, it feels really big and powerful. And the fingernails feel more like claws than fingernails. And she's describing this. I said, look up and open your eyes. She opened her eyes, flipped up, jumped off the bleeping couch, jumped up, got underneath my desk. I was like, what the hell, girl? She said, oh, it's a reptilian. So I knew that in the beginning. I said, you just needed to know it. So the reptilians have a way, and I'm not even sure how this works, to be honest with you, because they've taken plane trips together. At least she thinks they did. More than likely, they were flying in a spaceship from place to place, but I already gave her too much information to know. But all of them can do this, by the way. But so the reptilians, if they're in a crowd, you only see what they want you to see.
Yeah.
The telepathic thing, it's some type of field they create, but they don't physically change. People always think they're shapeshifters. Being a shapeshifter takes a lot of energy, and an ordinary person's not going to have that. Now the light beings can shapeshift, but everyday ordinary humans can't do it, and everyday ordinary reptilians or grays can't shapeshift. It's beyond the way they're designed. They're not
It's
designed
just projecting that.
Yeah, they're just projecting. The
That,
Greys are really good about
image.
projecting stuff. And the Greys and sneaky bastards, a lot of times will project what you want them to project. They'll take it out of your head. Matter of fact, you're driving the theme of the projection.
Gotcha.
Which is kind of strange in itself. But, after hearing enough of these cases, I finally got involved and I realized, okay, they are having sex with women, and the women reptilians were having sex with men, which we're probably not we probably can't talk about the way that went down because that's probably for a higher rated show. Maybe I'll talk about it on the chat this weekend. But
that's a good idea.
Well, because there's it's crazy, but there's a lot of specifics to this on the way things work, how things work. And the more I heard about this, the more I was like, come on, this can't be going on. I mean, I had more than 100 women in the first year tell me about this. I was like, no, I refuse to think this 7 foot, 600-pound guy is laying on top of some fragile little 5 foot, 100-pound woman. I'm just having issues with this.
The physics don't work.
It's just not working in my head. And but after enough cases, I realized that it was true. But now we know it was true because we know what was going on with these women in Samaria. Well, that's true, Christopher, the daughters of man. Yes, well, apparently they were daughters of reptilians. I don't, a lot of this stuff makes me a little sketchy, nervous sometimes. I look at all these races and have to stop and think, what the bleep are you doing on my planet? Why are you here? Why are you screwing with my citizens? Get off my damn planet.
I feel
but then someone goes, well, Joe, it might be their planet. We might be the interlopers. We might have just been created to be subservient to the people. I said, I'm not buying that bullshit. I said, maybe reptilians, because we have reptilians on the planet at one time. I said, but them stupid human-looking aliens and them grays don't belong here. But there is an argument for the fact that, okay, there was a fifth planet between Mars and Jupiter.
Yeah.
Either the reptilians or the humans could live there because they are big and bulky kind of people. The grays, if they were from the solar system, they were from Mars. The grays don't have joints like we do. They don't have bones. They have cartilage.
Yeah.
And their eyes are set for a planet with less light. So maybe they are from Mars. Maybe the reptilians were from Venus, or the humans were from Venus and the other ones were, and then there's Earth. So at one point, 50, 60 million years ago, all four of these planets were inside the habitable zone and inhabitable. So as far as we know, this is a reset. We're the reset because of whatever disaster happened, whatever blew up that fifth planet. So what they really think happened is the fifth planet blew up for whatever reason. One of the big rocks that went by just ripped a gouge out of Mars.
Oh yeah.
Another one hit it on the bottom,
obviously.
Yeah, and then one hit it on the bottom and created the largest volcano in the solar system. It's Mons. And when that thing started throwing debris and everything, and let's be honest, Mars's two moons are asteroids.
Yeah, totally.
Asteroids. And then we know we got smacked here at least once or twice, creating another disaster.
Yeah.
And we know Venus is in greenhouse effect. Something hit it and caused a disaster. So it looks like whether it was intentional or accidental, somewhere 50, 60 million years ago, this solar system had a major catastrophe.
Yeah.
And if there was life on all four of these planets, now there's not. And I think we're going to find life on Mars to an extent. Venus, they think they found life in the upper atmosphere of Venus. And by the way, the upper atmosphere of Venus is identical to Earth. Identical. Which means at one time, the whole planet was like ours.
Yeah.
And the reason I said gouge out of Mars, Christina, is because they don't think water made it because of how big it is. Now, it is possible whenever that asteroid hit the bottom of Mars and created Olympus Mons, maybe it threw an ocean out and the whole ocean swept through there. Maybe, but most scientists don't think that's how it was made. They think it was either some type of electrical discharge or a mountainous range just tore through it. Until we get there and actually can get down there and take samples, we don't really know. But they don't think it was water. You want to know the main reason why? Because there would still be water at the bottom of it.
For sure.
If we get there and find water at the bottom, then we'll know, okay, that's what created it. Oh no, who told you that, Bruce? No, there's liquid water on Mars. Yeah. They found it at least on 2 occasions now. And they what they think they're going to find underground is liquid water, because there's methane and oxygen found on Mars on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
it seems like underground somewhere there's an
Oh my
ecosystem.
God.
You know, so something's living down there. Maybe some amoebas, maybe some rats, maybe some Martians. I don't really know until we go. We don't know. Once we go, we'll find out. And we're going to build underground. Elon's already said he's planning on putting.
Oh yeah.
I
mean, he's already practicing tunnels here. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to bet just recently for $2,000. A friend of mine kept going. He said, "No." He said, "What? Why is Elon got all these companies?" I said, "Because Elon's going to Mars." And somebody explain something to you.
Yeah.
Every technology he has developed was either to live on Mars or get to Mars. I said, "You see all them satellites he's putting around us? He's testing them here, but he's going to start sending them to Mars pretty soon. He's going to give Mars its own telecommunication system. And as far as we know, there's lasers and shits on board, so it might be their own protection." I said, he's developing new solar packs that can last months at a time and charge on low sun volume. Well, we don't got a problem with the sun here. Shit's blasting us out the sky. So this is all stuff being developed for Mars. Also, new sciences for medicine, ways to create a 1G environment without having to spin it. Because, you can't have babies on Mars without a 1G environment because they're going to be mutants eventually.
Yeah.
And, we have never seen the movie. What is that? I was going to say Close Encounters. What's the one? Get Your Ass to Mars.
Yeah.
What's the hell?
Total Recall.
Total Recall. When you go look all mutants they got in that one.
Yeah.
We already know that it could cause mutants. We already know we've already had mutants cause. We've taken chickens in space and let them hatch, and they didn't have any legs on them.
Yeah.
Because there's none needed in space.
Joe, I hate to cut you off, but we're 5 minutes, 6 minutes over now.
Michelle, you don't listen. Go close your eyes, Michelle. I was on Para Heart the other day, and she said 2 hours. I said, you do know I own the place, right? She said, but Michelle get mad. I said, Michelle, my ass, I own the place. Sounds like, no, don't get yourself in trouble with Michelle. But we got to go, guys and girls, really.
We do have to go. Thank you so much for being with us there on the chat. All of you watching it on the stream, and for those of you listening, my name's Tim Sudano. Joe Montaldo has been our guest today, and we will see you next time on Paranormal Insight. And no ending, so goodbye for now.
Feed me.